Morning, everyone. Yesterday, Maxime Bernier held an event in Toronto introducing his Toronto and Southwestern Ontario candidates. Renata Ford, Rob Ford's widow, was introduced as a candidate for a strong Ford Nation riding. But interestingly enough, that's the same riding as a cabinet minister, a Liberal cabinet minister. So that's an interesting turn of events, right? And it was a big announcement. And well, here's Professor Haskell, who was introducing Mr. Bernier, and he did a whole speech. This was a good part of it. Well, this is a small part of it, but it was a good soundbite. So let's listen. Here we go.
There is a party that will stand up for Canadians who dare to hold conservative values, and it's the People's Party. And there's a federal leader willing to reject political correctness to find real solutions for the good of all Canadians, and that's Maxime Bernier. So, when I'm asked why I'm running as a candidate for the People's Party, I have a simple answer. I tell people, I just want to be able to tell the truth.
And there was more to that speech, but that was a good soundbite, as I said. So you can check out the link if you like. Link is in the description. And today's video is about Royal Assent. Royal Assent. The Liberals are getting to work at passing the bills that they've been working on either for the last month or a little bit longer. Bill C-69, Bill C-48, all of these bills have received Royal Assent, despite a lot of controversy, a lot of criticism, a lot of people asking for changes. But it's not just those bills either. And I'm going to talk about a few of them because I've been following them through their process, right? I'm going to let you know about some of them. All the links are in the description. Check it out for yourself. iPolitics is reporting, quote, Senate moves 4 bills to Royal Assent. This was on June 20th. And this was the Senate on Thursday pushed 4 bills towards Royal Assent, including legislation permitting Canada to introduce safeguards to curb surges of cheap steel imports, and another affirming the jurisdiction of Indigenous peoples for child and family services in their communities. So Bill C-101, Bill C-91, Bill C-92, which I didn't highlight there, which is weird, and Bill C-75. Bill C-75 is one that I want to highlight because I've been talking about it a lot. It's the one that reclassified summary offenses into hybrid offenses, which is, well, problematic because a lot of these offenses are a big deal. Formerly you had to go to court for these things, and now it's up to the prosecutor and the judges, et cetera, what to do with them, which is concerning. So here's the article. It says, Bill C-75 represents the Liberal government's efforts to ease the country's problematic court delays. In a bid to ease the backlog of cases delaying court trials, the bill would make 118 currently straight indictable offenses, not summary offenses, indictable offenses. That comes with a penalty of 2, 5, and 10 years in prison into hybrid ones. The Liberals are also proposing in the bill to increase the maximum penalties for summary convictions to just under 2 years. So basically what they're doing is, it used to be a summary conviction could be just 6 months in jail or a fine. And now they're saying, it'll be up to 2 years in jail, but we're going to change all these indictable offenses, things that used to require you to go to court, into these hybrid offenses, which are a little bit more serious than summary convictions, but not really, because they're using the same just under 2 years, like 2 years less a day or whatever it is. So it's very concerning. I've done videos on it in the past. If you want to look at my back catalog, you can hear all about Bill C-75, which is concerning. Here's another one, controversial bills C-69 and C-48 set to become law one day after Senate enforces Arctic offshore oil ban. That was another one of the, I think that was C-91, but National Post is reporting, quote, the Senate was set to pass into law 2 controversial natural resource bills Thursday evening, just one day after it quietly passed a 3rd bill that reinforced a ban on offshore oil drilling in the Canadian Arctic, quashing any future oil and gas development in the region. Bill C-48, which would legally enforce a moratorium on oil tankers in northern BC, is now set to receive Royal Assent after it was accepted at 3rd reading in the Senate late Thursday. At press time, Bill C-69, which would overhaul the environmental review process for major projects, was set to pass 3rd reading. Their passage would at long last, enshrine the bill in Canadian law, ending more than a year of fierce opposition from the natural resources sector and some provinces. Quote, this phase of the battle is over, Independent Senator Doug Black, who was opposed to C-69, said in a final speech before the final vote on the bill. And I scroll down. The passage of C-69 and C-48 on Thursday could add to doubts that the Trans Mountain pipeline will meet its summer construction schedule, a delay that would prolong the price discount on Canadian heavy oil that has amounted to billions in foregone revenue for energy producers and governments. Senators carried out a months-long survey of C69, which oil and gas lobby groups argued would kneecap the embattled energy sector by stopping major new infrastructure projects from being built. The failure in recent years to build major export pipelines like Trans Mountain, Keystone XL, and Line 3 has badly damaged investors' confidence in the sector, they say, and weakened the broader Canadian economy. Bill C-48, which puts into legislation a ban on oil tankers docking at communities in northern BC, was also viewed by some as a targeted attack on Canada's oil and gas sector. Bill C-48 was passed with only modest amendments despite efforts by some senators to create a so-called corridor that would allow oil tankers to dock in some designated areas. Right. And they said all of that, and there's still more to this story as well. Like they're passing lots of bills, right? So please do read. There's so much I just couldn't possibly get to it all, right? I couldn't cover it all. But I just want you to hear about these things. I found it interesting that the National Post got through that whole article and didn't mention once the letter sent by five provincial premiers and the premier of the Northwest Territories as well, so the territorial as well. So we've got 6 leaders in Canada saying this is bad, we shouldn't do this, and still they pass these bills. They don't care. They don't care, which is incredible how tone deaf this is. Here's CBC News reporting Jason Kenney will challenge passage of Bill C-69 and C-48 in the courts. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney says the province will challenge the passage of 2 controversial federal bills in the courts. Bill C-69, which changes Canada's environmental assessment process, and Bill C-48, which bans tanker traffic from a stretch of BC's north coast, were both passed Thursday night in the Senate. The passage of these 2 bills not only undermines Canada's economy, but also the Canadian Federation, said Kenney in a news release. Quote, their passage brings us closer to moving forward with a referendum on a constitutional amendment to eliminate equalization from the Canadian Constitution. If Albertans cannot develop our resources within the Federation, then we should not be expected to pay the bills in the Federation. I scroll down. Prejudicial attack. Kenney says C-48 is a prejudicial attack on Alberta that only targets one product, bitumen. Oil moving through the recently approved Trans Mountain pipeline will not move through that section of the coastline. On C-69, Kenney said it's a flagrant violation of the exclusive constitutional jurisdiction of provinces to control the development of their natural resources. The Premier's discontent with the passage of 2 bills was echoed by an industry group. The Canadian Energy Pipeline Association, CEPA, said in a release Friday that Bill C-69 becoming law would make the prospects of any new major pipeline development bleak. Bill C-69 does not create the clarity and certainty necessary for proponents of major new pipeline projects or risk bringing them forward, the industry group said. And again, there's more to this, but the link is in the description. You can check it out for yourself. And here's the specific news articles on, well, just some news articles that I found. I'm not going to read this because I've already talked about it, but it's interesting to note the different ways these things are reported on. Here is another report on Bill C-69, and again, this is Global News, and it says Canada's senators have given the thumbs up to Bill C-69, the Impact Assessment Act, which sets up a new authority to assess the industrial projects such as pipelines, mines, and interprovincial highways for their effects on public health, the environment, and the economy. Bill C-69 passed Thursday by a vote of 57 to 37. And the last one I'll talk about this morning is Bill C-71, and this is the gun ban. And I was talking about how it would probably happen on the 20th. And the 20th came and went, and I didn't hear about this bill passing. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then last night as I was going to bed, I came across this, and I was like, oh, right, here it is. So Bill C-71 began coming into force today as the governing Liberal Party of Canada's new law against hunters, farmers, sports shooters, and gun shops with mass gun bans. The bill faced some of the broadest and most active opposition of any legislation proposed since Prime Minister Justin Trudeau took office in 2015. He's now promising the biggest single gun seizure in Canadian history. Bill C-71 has received royal assent, the Senate said at 2:41 p.m. Ottawa time on Twitter following the official ceremony where the Queen's representative approved draft legislation into law. And it's interesting. I scroll down. Every major national and provincial shooting and hunting organization opposes the new law, as do hunters of thousands of concerned men and women from every political party, including voters without firearms. And that's true. I don't have a firearm. I don't own a gun. I've been thinking of getting my PAL because I'm thinking of taking up sport shooting or something like that. Hunting is something I've never done, but it interests me. I listened to Joe Rogan with Ted Nugent talking about how much death growing soybeans deals. He said, you know, like how many pesticides they use and how many, you know, there's nothing living in that field. There's no mice, there's no insects, there's no nothing. He said, that's insanity. He's like, that's no problem. You can gas those things, but you have a problem killing one older deer, and it has to be killed anyway to make room for the up and coming deer for, you know. Anyway, I found that so interesting. So that turned my opinion on hunting around a little bit. And the other aspect of that was sports shooting, etc. Like banning guns in the way that the Liberals are doing it with Bill C-71 doesn't meaningfully curb gang violence, doesn't meaningfully do anything to address the gun crime we're seeing that they're trying to pretend that this is addressing. This is what Bill Blair is saying. We will do whatever it takes to protect Canadians from guns, right? But except that they're not, because this punishes legal gun owners and does nothing to the criminals, really. Like, oh, don't you know that gun is banned, criminal? And the criminal says, I don't really care. Thanks. Can you give me all your money? Because I know that guns are banned and you don't have one. You law-abiding citizen, you. Right? I mean, it's insanity. It doesn't make any sense. Just like a whole lot of the other things that the Liberals do. It doesn't make any sense. None at all. And I looked for news articles on Bill C-71 with royal assent just because, you know, I mean, I just like to corroborate these things, and I couldn't really find anything. So I found that interesting. I don't know. I found that interesting. So check that out. I'm going to do another video right now about, it's 12 minutes. 11 minutes. Okay. I'm going to do another video right now, and spoiler, it's about Ross McKittrick and the apocalyptic rhetoric. And we're just going to look at this because it's going to take 10 minutes to get through. And, well, I think this is about the right amount of time. Yeah, I do. Okay. Thanks for watching. Check out the peoplespartyofcanada.ca and have a wonderful, wonderful